Hello, and welcome to this snapshot on the Pharmacy Examining Board in Pharmacies. This is part of Module 2 of the Medical College of Wisconsin School of Pharmacy, Wisconsin MPJE Review. So first, let's take a look at the Pharmacy Examining Board, its compositions, roles, and duties. The Pharmacy Examining Board, or PEB, or often just the board, is where it all begins. It consists of 7 Wisconsin residents, and 5 of whom are pharmacists, and 2 of whom are public or non-pharmacist members. These members are appointed by our governor to a maximum of 2 consecutive 4-year terms. And one of the only other stipulations is that they cannot be an officer or employee of a private organization that promotes pharmacy. So a state pharmacy association such as the Pharmacy Society of Wisconsin. The PEB members are assisted by other staff from the Department of Safety and Professional Services, which serves as the umbrella organization for PEB and other boards in the state of Wisconsin. Generally, PEB meetings occur monthly. Most of it's open to the public, with some of it being closed sessions as well. What are some of the duties of PEB? Well, one of the major ones that we see is that it enacts regulations to implement the statutes. So every FAR regulation that we'll see is something that has come from the deliberations of the board. The board also acts on applications for licensure, new licensure, reciprocating licensure, reinstatement of licensure of pharmacists and pharmacies and other organizations that we'll see in just a moment, as well as registration of pharmacy technicians. The board does have enforcement duties and powers regarding relevant statutes and regulations around pharmacy. And the ability to take disciplinary action against those who violate statutes and regulations as well. So we'll talk more about that in Module 9. The board also oversees the question creations for the MPJE and works with NABP to form and administer the MPJE exam. And finally, the board may approve, in certain cases, variances for emergencies. These are limited to 90 days. So during the COVID pandemic, the board instituted several variances. And the board can also create and implement pilot programs for new practices with a duration of 3 years. One of the recent examples of this was a pilot program for the check technician program. And after the conclusion of that program, this is now a part of our FAR 7 regulations. So the board administers licensure and registration for a number of businesses and people. Of course, the ones that we are most concerned about are pharmacies and the individuals that work within them. So pharmacies that are registered by the board include both in-state and out-of-state pharmacies, and include all types of pharmacies. So this is community or retail pharmacies, institutional or hospital pharmacies, pharmacies that are central fill, as well as remote dispensing sites, which must be licensed as a pharmacy. Important types of people that the board licenses and registers include pharmacists, of course, as well as recently pharmacy technicians. Now, pharmacists have to be licensed and pharmacy technicians are registered. So there's a little bit of a difference between the two. We'll talk about that in the upcoming snapshot. It's important to recognize that the board does not license pharmacy students, pharmacy interns, or other staff that work in a pharmacy. Finally, the board is also responsible for licensing pharmaceutical manufacturers and distributors, as well as home medical oxygen providers. Recently, the board was given the authority to also license third-party logistic providers. Rules on that are being developed, but not yet finalized. Okay, so let's move into licensure of a pharmacy. So what are some of the requirements for a pharmacy itself to be licensed by the board? So a pharmacy license is issued to the owner of the pharmacy. Okay, so a new licensure is issued to an owner of a pharmacy. The application for that pharmacy license must include things like location and address of the pharmacy, the owner name and address, a floor plan that is anticipated. Now note that if the pharmacy is remodeled, this floor plan has to be resubmitted currently. In addition, the managing pharmacist's name must be submitted. There must be an inspection by the board, and then a standard application and fee submitted as well. Pharmacy licenses must be on file for 30 days prior to a granting of the license. It's important to remember that in Wisconsin, all pharmacy-related licenses, and this includes not just pharmacy, but also pharmacist, technician, and other licenses, are renewed on June 1st of even-numbered years. And this is a statutorily defined date for all pharmacy-related licenses. So it's always June 1st of even-numbered years. So every license is issued for 2 years, and even if your original license is issued in an odd-numbered year, your next renewal will be in that even-numbered year upcoming. So, what types of pharmacies need to be licensed? Any pharmacy that is in its own area and separate from another pharmacy must have its own license, and incidentally, its own DEA registration as well. A common example of this is our institution. So, if there is an inpatient pharmacy in a hospital, it may be located in the basement, right? If there is also an outpatient pharmacy that they decide to put in near the entrance to the hospital on the first floor, those two are separate pharmacies and each location needs a separate license. However, if they did have a location where the outpatient or one pharmacy was doing both outpatient and inpatient dispensing in the same space, that would need just one license. And finally, if the owner of the pharmacy changes or the pharmacy moves location to a new address, that is another requirement for a new license. So because that license is issued to the owner, right? So if either the owner locations or owner changes or location changes, a new pharmacy license must be issued. Finally, pharmacies in other states may be licensed in Wisconsin. They must be licensed in Wisconsin if they ship or deliver prescriptions to Wisconsin residents. Okay, so any out-of-state pharmacy that's mail ordering to Wisconsin has to be licensed in Wisconsin. So this is the pharmacy only. Pharmacists, including the managing pharmacists, do not need to be individually licensed in Wisconsin. Okay, so the pharmacy, not the pharmacists. However, in this case, when that pharmacy applies for licensure, the owner and or the managing pharmacist must affirm that they know and will comply with Wisconsin state pharmacy laws. So an affidavit is required, but not licensure, and that managing pharmacist doesn't have to take the MPJE. Okay, so let's go over a few of the physical requirements that are in place for a pharmacy in Wisconsin. So there are several types of physical requirements that we'll discuss, including titles that can be displayed, requirements for the professional service area, requirements for sanitation, storage and security, temperature and humidity, as well as required signage. So you'll see on this slide that we have several titles or signs that pharmacies may typically display, like pharmacy, apothecary, or drugstore. Now, these may only be applied to licensed pharmacies. So any sundry outlet or non-pharmacy may not use these titles. In Wisconsin, regulations define what's known as the professional service area. This is the area that we typically think of as the pharmacy. It's the area that is defined as the area in which prescriptions are compounded and dispensed, restricted items such as poisons or items that are only dispensed by a pharmacist are available, or patients are consulted. This could also, in our current day, include areas for immunizations or other administration areas as well. The professional service area is basically what we think of as our pharmacy. There were previously some requirements for dimensions. However, these have been repealed as our current pharmacy practice provides for a wide variety of professional service area characteristics and sizes. Importantly, in every professional service area, a pharmacist must be present in order for pharmaceutical services to be provided. And so that is a clear-cut requirement. If a pharmacist is ever not present within that professional service area, the pharmacy must close and professional services cannot be provided to others. If it meets some of the requirements for a remote dispensing site, such as the appropriate location, and we'll talk more about that in Module 8, it could potentially convert to a remote dispensing site. But most of the time, if a pharmacist is not present, pharmaceutical services may not be provided. So what are some of the required facilities, required resources that must be in each pharmacy? So we have the ever popular and ever present sink, right? And each sink has to have hot and cold running water. There must be detergent available for cleaning of the area, as well as an appropriate waste disposal container. Now, it doesn't have to look like this. This is just a graphic representation, but these all must be appropriate for the pharmacy and present. Each pharmacy must contain a slate of references, and these can be either in physical form or electronic form. Either one is okay. State and federal laws must be accessible. Reference or professional references related to pharmacy practice, like drug interactions, patient counseling, compounding, etc., must be available and accessible. And finally, by rule, pharmacies must have access to drug substitution references, such as the FDA's Orange Book, or for biologics, the Purple Book as well. So know the different references that pharmacies must have on hand. And then finally, the board requires the information on the Wisconsin Poison Center and the phone number used to access it. And so this must be conspicuously posted within the pharmacy. FAR 6 also provides requirements for drug storage, and the requirements here are intended to both prevent drug adulteration and obstruct theft and diversion. So, unsurprisingly, drug storage must be secure, neat, clean, and orderly. Controlled substances may be locked in a substantially constructed cabinet, or, so a safe is not required, but if they're not in a cabinet, they must be dispersed throughout the inventory so as to obstruct theft and diversion. So controlled substances can't be kind of like on their own shelf or in their own section. If they're not in a cabinet, they must be kind of sprinkled throughout the stock in a way that somebody can't come in and just scoop up all the controlled substances. Finally, in order to prevent drug adulteration, the pharmacy must monitor temperature and humidity in appropriate areas. So what's required? Refrigerator and freezer temperature monitoring, and then the air in the pharmacy temperature and humidity must also be continuously monitored. From this monitoring, the minimum and maximum of each of these values has to be recorded at least once each business day. So there is a substantial amount of monitoring and record keeping required for temperature and humidity. So I would know these requirements. Like all state records, state required records, these must be kept for a minimum of 5 years. In all pharmacies, a centrally monitored alarm system is required for the entire pharmacy area. So this is a requirement no matter what type of pharmacy it is. A safe or time lock for controlled substances is encouraged, although regulations do not require a specific type of safe or a time lock for any type of safe that may contain controlled substances. In addition, when that professional service area is closed, the area where the pharmacy does business that we discussed a few slides ago, when this area is closed, there must be a locked, secure physical barrier around the area. Specifications have to be submitted to the board, and the board will review them and approve them. There must be signs posted with hours that professional services are available. So start time, end time, if there are any lunch breaks, those need to be indicated as well. And then finally, anytime the phone is answered, if the professional service area is closed, if the phone is answered or an answering message comes on, that message may not imply that a professional service is available during this time, so as not to mislead the caller. So for your convenience, I wanted to assemble a list of the required signage and postings in every pharmacy. So this takes into account some of the rules we've already discussed, as well as some of the ones that we'll talk about in other modules. So the list of required signage includes hours of professional services, the Wisconsin Poison Center contact info that we spoke of before. Regarding patient counseling, there must be a sign with the patient's right to consultation, as well as how to file a complaint with the board. We'll talk about this more in the patient counseling section. And then a description of the pharmacist's ability to substitute generic drugs and biologics must be posted so the public is aware of this ability by the pharmacist. And then in the last couple of years, there have been some statutes enacted to make the public a little bit more available of the general costs of prescription drugs. So PEB, the board, must generate a list of the top 100 drugs, and this is on their website. FDA publishes a list of interchangeable biologics. This is known as the Purple Book. And then finally, each pharmacy must create and update monthly a top 100 retail price list. So this includes generics as well as interchangeable biologics. So this creates a burden on the pharmacy to maintain and update this list monthly. And so each pharmacy must make information available to all its customers on each of these three things. So these are all the things that a pharmacy needs to post in the pharmacy. Some of the things that are not required that you may wonder about include any license or registration certificates. So pharmacy, pharmacist, technician, and DEA certificates are not required to be posted in the pharmacy. So this snapshot has discussed the PEB as well as pharmacy requirements. It's been part of Module 2 of our MCW School of Pharmacy and PJE review course. and I recommend you to the companion questions for further practice on these concepts. Thanks, and I'll see you in another snapshot.